Once you're committed to the other person's success, where else can you go? I mean, you have to trust that everybody has their same interests. That's what accountability is all about, that you are committed to their success.
First and foremost, I've engaged in a committed partnership with our employees throughout the corporation. So in that particular engagement, I've made the conscious decision I'm going to grant the trust. And it's made a remarkable difference.
What have you noticed?
What I've noticed is the speed in which we get things done. People are clearly saying, if he's giving me the trust, I'm not going to let him down. And they haven't.
What type of partnerships do you have at work? Do you have ordinary partnerships, or do you have committed partnerships? Now, in an ordinary partnership, if I tell you I'm having a bad day and you're my friend, you're going to agree with me. Yes, it's really a bad day. Or if I tell you I didn't do well with my boss or I didn't like what my boss said, you're going to agree that, oh yeah, he or she should not have said that. You see, that's what we do when we're in ordinary partnerships. We agree with people about what people are unhappy about. Well, that doesn't help us produce superior results, but more important than that, it doesn't demand the best of people. When you're in a committed partnership, rather than helping people feel good, we demand the best from them. Now, ask yourself this. Would you want me to simply help you feel good, or would you rather have me demand the best from you? I have a question for you. Does anybody here ever try to accomplish things alone? And your natural default mechanism is being the Lone Ranger. Any Lone Rangers in the crowd? No? Really?
I'm lying.
Really? I'm shocked. I'm shocked if you say, Mike, did you not raise your hand?
No, I'm not a Lone Ranger.
No, you're not.
No.
You always seek out a group and group input and group.
Well, it didn't used to be.
Well, okay, because you really hesitated that. Well, let me give you an example, and you tell me if you have an example. Because I just had a breakthrough. Here we are shooting a video series, 8 segments on holding to account. Anybody here trying to be perfect in the interactions?
Yeah, sure.
Are you nervous a little bit?
Yes.
On camera? Because what are you worried about?
You want to do it right.
You want to do it right. So who do you talk to about doing it right? Are you talking to anybody about that? Or what are you doing with that conversation? Where's that conversation occurring? Yes, it's occurring in your head. Michael, any conversation occurring in your head?
No, I just keep worrying about Diane coming down to polish up the bald spot.
That she's going to powder you.
Yeah.
Well, let me tell you the conversation going inside my head. I think here we are in segment 3. We're into committed partnerships. And I start thinking, what do I need to make sure we cover? What materials do we have to go over? What props do we need to have? Are we using the right props? Now, who am I having this conversation with?
Yourself.
Yeah, I'm having this conversation with myself. Yet, how many people are we surrounded by on this set? Guess, how many?
20, 30.
20, 30 people. Now, do you think I might think that I have some committed partners out there I could go to and ask their input? But what is my natural default tendency? To what?
Work it out in your head.
To work it out in my head, to solve the problem alone, to think that I'm responsible, I'm here, I've got to come up with this. Now, does anybody share any similar tendency to that one that I just described? Okay, now you understand what I mean by being alone? Well, when we took a break and I had a chance to sit down, 5 or 6 of my committed partners showed up with me. They sat in the room with me and they generated the ideas, which prop works best? How do we want to illustrate this point? What's going to make sense for this? As I was sitting there, I was realizing I didn't have to have the conversation alone. And you know what? Their ideas were better than mine. We ever have that happen? They had great ideas. They were talking about props. It stimulated new thinking and new ideas. And my breakthrough was this. I had been operating, doing this video series with you, that I had to do it alone. Now, it wasn't a conscious thought. And that's how the automatic works in our mind. It's all by default. So now my question goes back to you. Do you have a default mechanism in your mind that says, I am responsible for whatever, and I have to do it alone? Anybody have that default tendency? Now, how many Lone Rangers do we have in the group? All right. Mike, before, were you a Lone Ranger?
I suppose.
Well, Lone Ranger just simply means we forget to go and ask our committed partners for input, because here's where it comes from. Here's our coaching hat on this segment on committed partnerships. Usually in a 50-50 organization, there are levels of coaches, but there's one coach in an organization. Who wears the ultimate coaching hat in an organization?
CEO.
Yeah, the CEO. And if you drop down a level, then you can pass this coaching hat to what? A leader? Then the leader wears the coaching hat, and we wait for the leader to lead, and you can pass it down. And when you go to a meeting, how many people wear this coaching hat? How many coaches are there in a meeting? Typically, normal environment. One, right. And even on a video set, who would you give this hat to?
Director.
We would give it to the director, and in our group right here, who would get this hat?
You.
You would give it to me. Do you defer to me in this conversation? Do you wait for me to lead? Yeah. And you're waiting to see what's appropriate and when to talk, correct?
Right.
Because that's the typical way we're trained. And so we have one coaching hat. So in committed partnerships, it says something different. It says there's more than one coach. How many coaches do we have sitting around this table? If we're committed partners.
9.
Yeah, 9. You leave me out now, right? Oh, where's Remy, right? But if we're really going to have a committed partnership, this coaching hat doesn't belong to me. In fact, we can pass the coaching hat. I can give it to Louise. She can give it to Faith. Who can give it to Warren. But it's not my coaching hat, which starts to define this. There is no single leader, not in a culture of accountability, not when we have 100%, is there? Now, tell me where you have had an experience, either where there was only one coaching hat or where you were able to get everybody to wear the coaching hat. What was the difference in partnership, the quality of partnership that you had? Anybody remember a story or something that's happened to you? Faith, you were going to say something.
Sure. At one of my district meetings, we had started talking about the cultural practices, and I was talking about a particular product we were working on, and several of my staff during the run of the meeting actually took the opportunity to coach me. And it was wonderful because it helped me do a better job, and it made me aware of the impact I was having on them. And I think in the past that would not have been typical behavior. It would have been, I would have been seen as the coach and they would not have been as inclined to coach me. So.
Well, what happened in that meeting that the coaching hat came off of your head and got passed to somebody else? What happened?
Well, specifically, I was talking about how we could sell more of a specific product, and one of the people I work with said, "Well, Faith, we've done this and we've done this and we've done this, and maybe we're okay. Maybe the message that maybe you're thinking we're not good enough, which is of course my blind spot, and we're okay." And it was just a bit of a.
It was
they
caught you by surprise.
Yeah, I
right?
actually stopped completely talking. So yeah, which is something, right? And it was
So
very
they must have-
effective.
Well, they must have felt safe enough to coach you.
Yes.
The environment was safe.
Yes.
Because if you're going to take, if Norman is in a meeting with you and he's going to take the coaching hat and yet you're the leader, he has to feel safe to speak up, correct?
Right.
So what caused him to feel safe?
I had given them permission. I think I had asked for them to coach, so I'd given them permission to coach me, and I'd asked, and they knew it was okay.
But look at this. We can do this in a lot of different ways. Let's say I'm the coach, and I walk into the meeting, and I have this hat. It's a symbolic hat, right? But I'm the coach. Let's say I'm your boss. I say, okay, we're going to talk about why we were late on that deadline, and we're going to correct that because that's not going to happen again. And if you have any ideas that you want to suggest at this meeting, feel free to put them on the table. I give you permission to coach me. You too, Mike. What kind of reaction do you get?
Well, the way you just presented that, it doesn't make me want to give you a lot of feedback.
I gave you permission, though.
Yeah, but you did it in a way that says to me, I don't feel safe doing it. It was sort of,
Yes.
I thought it sounded sort of quite like, okay, look, we've got this problem here now, how are we going to fix it? It's the tone that sometimes you ask it in.
Yes. Yes. So it's not just the words, is it? I can give you permission to coach, and if it's rote, if it's a routine, if it's a technique, if it's the right phrase to say, everything else, right, Warren, that I'm saying is saying, try it.
Right.
And see what happens, right?
Can't just do it once either. Like it can't just be in the context of the meeting. It has to be something that you're saying all the time, and that interaction's happening on a regular basis.
And people have to believe you, right?
Right. Yes.
They have to believe you really mean it.
The first time you get it, you better.
They have to trust you.
Yeah.
So in that respect, what exactly is a committed partnership?
I think it's being real and keeping it one-on-one is the most effective as well. So if rather than in a group setting in front of 20, 30 people, tell me what you think, you may be setting yourself up for veiled responses or maybe not the true feelings. So even by practicing it one-on-one, saying to somebody, what do I do to get in your way? Opening yourself up first, saying, not saying you have permission, but going right to, tell me what I do that gets in your way.
Yeah, so asking a very direct question and wanting to hear the answer. So how would you define committed partnerships then? What's your definition of it?
It would be a relationship where you're actually caring about the other person and what they're going to bring to the project and to the team and being there for them rather than just being there functionally for the project.
So what's the difference then between an ordinary partnership and a committed partnership? How would you distinguish those two?
Well, I'm committed to seeing whatever we're working on together succeed, and you succeed is not just myself, whereas before your tone and your body language told me you're in trouble and you're going to get me out of it, or
right.
you were defensive. And
yes. So a committed partnership, we're committed to one another's success?
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And what do we normally do in an ordinary partnership? What's a default partnership? The ones that happen all the time.
Look after myself first, and
Look after me first, then what?
Then try help the other person cross the finish line once you're there.
And avoid the search for the guilty.
And avoid the search for the guilty?
It's a win-lose versus a win-win.
I love it. It's a win-lose. And a committed partnership then, by definition, would be what?
A win-win.
A win-win situation. Because we're both committed to what?
Each other's success.
Each other's success. Now, does that mean we tolerate poor performance?
No.
Absolutely not. You see, I want to make sure we understand that there's nothing soft about a high-performance culture, committed partnership, and all these concepts. These are not soft concepts, are they? They're discipline, rigor. So it means that if Larry's my partner, my committed partner, and I see him underperforming, do I tolerate that because I like him?
no.
In an ordinary partnership, I might, though, right?
Yes, but doing it this way, it's healthy because you're talking to Larry early when there are problems rather than waiting for the problems to explode and have everything derail.
Yes. Yes, so I'm actually engaging him early, and I'm not tolerating poor performance. So if I tolerate poor performance, what impact does that have on Larry?
It just procrastinates the problem. You still have to deal with the problem if there is a poor performance issue, but you can deal with it now and move on with the business and getting things done, or you can deal with it later and have a bigger mess with the project.
Right. And also, if I allow poor performance to continue, am I committed to his success?
No.
No, I'm helping him, sabotage himself, even if it's unconscious, correct? So, committed partnership says this. Here's what I'm hearing you say. There is no such thing as one coaching hat in a committed partnership, correct? We all have a coaching hat. It doesn't belong to a leader. There is no one person that coaches. And it says that we are mutually committed to each other's success. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
And that's the definition of committed partnership.
Loretta, earlier I said that trust is foundational in terms of wanting to build a successful corporation. I call it the foundation. What do you think of that in terms of how important trust is in building a corporation that's going to go to a whole new level in terms of a high-performance culture?
Oh, I like this. I'm going to be interviewed now, huh? Well, let me
We're
ask
going to
you.
shift the role just for a minute.
Yeah, but watch this, because I'm going to ask you a question right back.
I might have thought that.
Is trust important in committed partnerships?
From my perspective, absolutely. Because I don't think you can have a committed partnership if you don't have trust.
All right, so trust is important. Now, there are two types of trust. You can either earn trust or you can grant trust. What do you do?
Are you talking the past or today?
Well, you better tell me both.
Okay. In the past, very much so. I worked under an environment where trust had to be earned. When I moved into really understanding what high-performance culture is all about and committed partnership, I had to shift big time into providing the trust right up front.
And so what does that mean, providing it right up front? What did you do differently?
Well, first and foremost, I've engaged in a committed partnership with our employees throughout the corporation. So in that particular engagement, I've made the conscious decision I'm going to grant the trust. And it's made a remarkable difference.
What have you noticed?
What I've noticed is the speed in which we get things done. People are clearly saying, if he's giving me the trust, I'm not going to let him down. And they haven't.